Okay, so have we
We are
gone live?
live.
Yeah, we're
We
live. We're
are.
live.
Fab. Hi, everyone.
Hello, hello.
Hello,
Hello.
everyone. That was an energized hello. Everyone's like,
Hello.
Exactly. It's Happy Thursday, isn't it? I hope everyone's having a good week. Are you boys having a good week?
it's been a blessed one so far.
Yeah,
Good.
absolutely. Been awesome.
Good, good. So, whilst we give it a minute or so, I want to start by saying thank you so much to everyone watching on live or even on replay later on, and being part of a really important discussion today around mental health. As many of you, as many of you know, actually, it's Mental Health Awareness Week this week in the UK, and it's also really important for me to point out that it doesn't mean that we will forget about mental health come next week, but it gives us an opportunity to raise even more awareness. And even if it helps one person, it's one more than yesterday. So my name is Rinal Patel, and I'm the founder of Asian Patient, and it's a group set up to raise awareness, support each other, and break down barriers and stigma that exists when discussing certain health issues within the South Asian community. You can find us on Facebook, and I will add a link to this video later. But today, any questions that you guys have, please feel free to post. I know that this will be shared, and hopefully the live will be shared on different channels. So do post, and we will try and get through them later. But without further ado, I am extremely grateful today to introduce our two guests, Viraj Oza and Manoj Sangany. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me today.
Thank you, Rinal. Thank you for having us. This is something we've been speaking about for the last few days, and just really looking forward to just having this conversation and just being of service to anyone that's listening.
Definitely. Thank you, Rina, for the opportunity to share this space with you and your audience.
Yeah, I'm really excited actually, so thank you so much. I suppose where we want to start is really talking about your personal mental health journeys. So, I mean, you know, you guys take it away, but I think that's really important. So up to you, who goes first?
Yeah, I think I'll start. I'll also just share how I think Mindful Men's Club started, right, Viraj? I think that's quite important, and that intersects certainly with my personal journey as well. And I'm happy to go in a bit of a deep dive as we talk. So I got invited to participate in a group in Harrow for our two sister groups called Mental Wealth and Reroute. I think I was one or two guys who attended. There was like all women there, which was fine, didn't faze me. And it was like I was thinking, what is this about? You know, should I attend? Should I not attend? And I've always liked meeting new people. So I thought, okay, cool. Mental health, anything to raise awareness. I was obviously going through something at that time myself, and you always kind of do, but I've got it in check. But just to be completely transparent, that you never always have it in check. Like you have lows and highs, and it's okay to kind of just say that you have highs and lows. So I attended, listened very intuitively. I thought, wow, there's some real authentic stories and shares. A couple of meetings later, we found out that there was nothing for men. And then Jinil, one of the founders for Mental Wealth, along with Sonam, who's one of the founders for Reroute, which is both our sister groups, said, Manoj, do you want to do a talk on? And I'm like, cringe, me do a talk on mental health. And I actually was going through a really dark phase at that space, but not letting anyone know, if that makes sense. Like literally not letting anyone know. So they didn't know this. So I said yes, being muggins me, I say yes to pretty much any opportunity to talk and meet people, right? And then Sunday, I had everything scripted out and what I was going to talk about. And Sunday, I actually had a mental health breakdown. Not Sunday, sorry, Saturday. Sunday was the talk. And I had two choices, either to go inside and make an excuse to the world and say, I can't turn up, ironically, because I've got mental health and keep it real, or say some other excuse. And I thought, you know what, let's not do that. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm denied. And I thought, no, I'm gonna show up. Don't know what the hell I'm gonna do, what mood I'm gonna be in. And I'm just gonna share my story. And my story literally was, I had a breakdown. yesterday. That's how I did the talk, and I ended up sort of keeping it natural and keeping it flowing. And then she goes, and something must have resonated with the audience, and then she goes, you really need to do this for men. Do you want to sort of take the plunge? I'm like, why not? Again, I said yes, not knowing what the outcome is and not knowing what Mindful Men Club would sort of be like in the journey. Had a catch up with a few like-minded people, good friends of mine. So Havan, who's the other co-founder, Sagar, who's the other co-founder, and obviously Viraj, who's the other co-founder. I think after not many, 3 or 4 Costa coffees, right, Viraj? We kind of, we all clicked, we formed the idea, not having any script, just wanted to keep it true and have a space for men all around the world to share this private space, etc. And then with one mission only, which is to make sure that on our watch, there's not another man who becomes a statistic to suicide. So I nearly committed suicide 3 years ago. None of my family knew this. Obviously, anyone watching, they know that now, but they didn't know it then. And I wrote my whole story through the medium that I felt comfortable with, which was in written format, and I shared it on Facebook. So I think it's just important just to be true to your story and share your story. And when you own your story, like you've owned your story, Rinal, I read, your story as well. You're not doing it for any other reason than just to raise awareness, and anybody who's gone through something similar like you, to show that, you know what, you're just shining a light saying you're not alone. You're literally not alone. And I think that's literally a glimpse of my journey and how it started. But I'll hand it over to Viraj as well.
Thanks, Manoj.
Thanks, Manoj. Yeah, my journey, probably looking back, was way more subtle in terms of just the stuff and the pressure that I put myself under, kind of, living up to the stereotype of being a man of the house and being the oldest son and taking on all these roles and responsibilities that were just kind of wearing me down. And yet you just kind of power through because that's what you're supposed to do, until it reached a point where my physical health was starting to be affected. And it was, looking back on it now, I can't believe I let it go on for so long, but like for a year and a half, I was having all sorts of health issues and niggles, from like skin rashes to back pains to like elevated liver enzymes. And then I had a neurological scare where I was basically, my nervous system was being attacked by immune system because they thought it was a virus. So like I lost all strength in my fingers. So I didn't have the strength in my fingers to press the power button on my phone at one point. It was really, really weird. Got through that, and all I did was I just carried on the same way until it got to a point where my GP was like, you need to stop. Like, I don't know what's wrong with you. Like, you're coming to me with something different every month. Like, I physically need you to stop. And even in that conversation, I was like, yeah, cool, what I'm going to have a conversation with work. I'll organize a handover, because I kind of knew I wanted to take some time out anyway, because I thought it was just burnout. And he was like, no, like 3 months, you're going home right now. And I was like, okay. So I took that time out, and then I realized that actually there's nothing physically wrong. There was just what I thought was stress, was just a whole heap of stuff that, when I started to unpack it, were elements of PTSD, anxiety, depression, and it just kind of bottlenecked into this thing. And I was like, wow, okay. Started to work through it and realized that actually it wasn't as straightforward as I thought. It wasn't just about resting. I had to take responsibility for a lot of things that were going on that I thought were out of my control. But once I started looking at that, I was like, okay, cool. The ball is in my court. But it took a really dark moment where I looked at myself, and I remember sitting on my sofa downstairs staring at a TV that wasn't even on, which was probably for about a good 3 or 4 hours, having this like existential conversation in my mind. And I was just going through like, who are you? Like, are you even you? Like, is your sense of humor even yours? How much of what we see is put on? And looking around, I was like, I'm not grateful for anything that I should have, because I have everything that I'm expected to have at this age, and what success looked like. And I was like, it didn't mean anything to me. So then it was just really questioning, is this really worth it? And at that point I was like, okay, this is now going into a dark place. And if I don't do something now, there's only one way out. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's take a step back and look at what the options are. And thankfully I went down the personal development route and connected with like-minded people. And from there, it's just been up and up and up. So I think at a high level, to anyone that's watching and feeling down, like, it's okay, because stuff happens in life, and how much of the stuff that you're carrying is really yours to carry. And that's the place to really start looking from.
Yeah. Do you know what? I mean, firstly, thank you, and I know for both of you, you share your story quite a lot and stuff like that, but there are lots of people watching today that will feel that it's, like I do, super brave to just even go through your journeys and personal journeys. And there's quite a bit that you both said that resonates in everyone, when
Yeah,
you kind of get to that point where you think, wow, you either feel like, okay, you need to stop at a certain point, or you don't. And then it just becomes darker and darker, doesn't it? But
yeah.
thank you so much for sharing your personal journeys, guys. So one of the things that I wanted to say is, obviously you touched on Mindful Men's Club that you've set up. So how did that come about, Viraj, for you? And what's the kind of, how's that going?
Yeah, so Manoj and I connected through that personal development path. We joined the like-minded community and we started meeting up and hanging out. And again, we just started having conversations about, look, where are we at? Where do we want to get to? And I joke about it a lot. I was like, guys, when you have your meetings, like, I'm in East London. Like, if you're meeting in Harrow, like, come on, meet me somewhere halfway. So in the end, we're in Costa Coffee and we're having this conversation. And it was like, these conversations that we're having amongst us, like, these should just be normal conversations where we're just talking about stuff that's on our mind. So how can we as blokes create that for guys? I guess traditionally it's not as easier for guys to have these types of conversations where we're just taking a look. So we thought, well, how can we create something that's an equivalent, that's a safe space, that's not preachy, that's not, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. Just sometimes you've just got to get stuff out and have just a healthy conversation. And that's where the idea of Mindful Men's came up, where we thought, okay, well, let's organize it in person. And then lockdown happened. So we thought, okay, well, we need to keep this going. So we just ended up doing it online. And the beauty of it is that we've now got people connecting from like Malaysia, from Spain, across Europe, a couple of people from the US joining, and it's just a bi-weekly meeting where you can just pop in, be part of the conversation, watch the conversation, and then we open up to a Facebook Live to kind of talk about what we talked about, so the people that couldn't join live can still have an experience of, guys, these are the conversations that were happening, here's what we discussed, and mainly, as Manoj was saying, it's, if we save one person from taking their life because they just didn't get a chance to talk, that's our job done. So anything we can get to do on top of that's a bonus. But what we found is that people just like having just a straight conversation about stuff without being judged, and I think that's so important.
Yeah, yeah. And I think also that the fact that it is a safe space, like you said, to talk, and it is all of you guys as in men coming together and sharing things, and what stays in that room literally stays in that room. It doesn't go anywhere else. And I think that actually helps people as well.
Yeah, it's like, Reno, if you imagine a bit of a stereotype amongst guys here, but I'll say it, I'm sure most guys won't argue with this, but or happy to take questions if they do. Generally, there's a conception between guys not having the courage, the real strength, right? I'm not talking about the macho, superficial ego. I'm talking about the real strength where you're owning your own vulnerability and you're sharing it, and it doesn't take a alcoholic drink for you to pluck up that Dutch courage to then share it, which is what guys do in banter, loosely, very loosely and very secretively, right? They don't do it intentionally, but the signs are there. So I can pretty much call it out now, because I used to be that guy, right, who was subtly on the surface and trying to reach out, but you would never know. But that one friend would always pick up on these tiny little signals, right? These micro expressions of cries for help. And what we're doing, I explain one extreme of it, but the other extreme of it is the more subtle, is that it's just a space to talk. Like, you don't have to be going through anything dark, like, because there's multiple spectrums of mental health, as we know, from mild anxiety to, to suicide, and anything pretty much in between, right? Which is what Viraj touched on. So the fact that every single one of the men who come to the actual private Zoom, and the reason it's private Zoom and it's not recorded is because we never share the identity of the men. But when we do the unpacking, the reason we do the unpacking is because the women actually reached out to us, because 40% of the Facebook audience are women that are giving a gentle virtual elbow to the men in their life, saying, go and have a talk to these guys, because I'm tired
Yeah,
of
for
you
me,
telling
I
me or
just
do
love
something
listening.
about it.
I just love listening to your debrief, so I'm on there as well.
But if you amplify the debrief, and I'm not just saying this, and Viraj will back me up, times 100, that's how deep they are. But we can't unpack everything, because you're talking like the first ever time people are sharing the stories are quite often within the private space in Mindful Men's Club. So we're like really generally hit back. We're thinking, whoa, that's really deep. And then we think every 2 weeks, whoa, it's really deep, because it just, there's so much that people are going through, right? It's like that famous analogy of I don't know, everyone used to say to me when I used to start sharing it, Manoj, you're the most positive, super happy-go-lucky. I'm like, well, have you heard of the actor Robin Williams? He was exactly like that. So I was
mask we end up wearing, isn't it?
and I love him to bits. And when I came out of my mental health journey, I actually watched all of his black and white chat shows. And if you're ever a fan of Robin Williams, he's a comedic genius. But the signs were even there. If you go back and watch him how he was, you can see that he used that as a form of escapism, to channel it in a positive way, to use comedy as a channel of release. And that's literally what he did. He just happened to be a genius at it, though, but that's what he did.
Yeah.
And the one thing I just wanted to add to that is that with the meetings, you don't have to be someone that's going through a mental health challenge as well. So like we've had sessions on leadership, communication. So we've had workshops and people sharing best practices on that kind of stuff. So in that sense, as we're talking about the spectrum, you could be at a place where you just need a community and a safe outlet to communicate and share. Or like we're sort of skill sharing and things like that as well. And that's just, it's all part and parcel of that. And I think looking back and just to add to something that you were saying, Manoj, like some of the things that some of the guys have shared about, being sexually abused by women and being at the effect of violence by their partners, or having challenges with their relationships or being ghosted and things like that. Like they're just able to just kind of talk about it and find just some kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like just a sense of peace and brotherhood and community. And it's like, look, it's okay, we've got your back. But just by having to have that conversation, you can visibly see that it's they've just been able to let something go and can now move forward as well. So it's an incredible space, whether you're here to just tap into pick people's brains, or actually you've got a challenge and something that you want to drop, but you feel that your outer inner circle, so to speak, isn't a safe place to do so either.
I think you touched on something really nice, that just to remind the audience that we actually didn't have a script. We still don't have a script. So actually, many people may not know this, but I'll share it, is that pre-lockdown, Mindful Men's Club actually started with 2 live workshops in person. And both our workshops were at the famous grounds donated by George Harrison from the Beatles, the Hare Krishna Temple in Watford. So we were really blessed to be amongst that ambient energy and that spirituality. And I'm massive into spirituality myself. So that really resonated with me. We were thinking we can't really have a meeting of Mindful Men's Club in a pub. We could do, but then one of the guys who wanted to attend was suffering from alcoholism. So that decision made itself, it auto-corrected itself. And then lockdown hit, and then we pivoted like everyone else, and we jumped on what we're doing now, which is Zoom. Or
which like you said is great, because then it doesn't matter where you are in the world, in the country, whatever, one can connect, which you're reaching far more people. And
absolutely.
supporting far more people, so it's great. And so one of the things that I posted on Asian Patient a bit earlier on, and I was shocked, but I wasn't shocked, if that makes any sense. So it was, let me tell you what the quote is. So 50% of people said that stigma and discrimination is equally as damaging or harder to deal with than the illness itself.
100% agree.
What do you both think? Because it's not just the fact that you're men, it's the fact that you are men, but also our culture, South Asian culture. So talk to me about what do you think?
It's that whole what will people think scenario. It's like you could be given the most devastating news, but then all of a sudden people start talking about it. And again, it's not necessarily to make people wrong, because people do talk, and it's human to do that. But I feel that it's, as you say, there's that stigma of there's something wrong, and the gossip and the chatter starts, and I think that in itself adds another challenge to what someone may be dealing with as well. So, and I think that's the thing to kind of look at and say, well, how can we have this conversation about, let's not even call it mental health, like it's a health challenge. How can it be as topical as us talking about diabetes right now? Because almost every person in every Desi household has someone that's, we have the jokes about the sugar and all that stuff, and there's a diabetic and doing all that stuff. So why is mental health any different to that? Because it's still something that, whilst maybe a challenge and affects, it doesn't just affect the person, it affects their people around them as well. So how can we have that healthy conversation to understand not just how to deal with it, but where does it stem from as well?
It's definitely not surprising, the quote, because quite often we pay too much attention to, and I talk about this a lot in Mindful Men's Club, OPO, which is other people's opinion. We externalize the noise and we internalize it, and then the labels that we are put on ourselves and the labels that we as dangerously put on ourselves, because that subconscious mind is always talking to us, right? And we're thinking, oh, if you hear it long enough, it must be true, that kind of scenario, where it does not surprise me, because if you imagine that you're in a room and three friends are gossiping about you, or there's a family member who constantly is telling you something that not to be true, but is telling you enough, well, guess what? It's going to be subliminal programming. It's going to be ingrained in you. So then you're more in fear, more, maybe fear is not the right word, but it can be fear, but you're more confused and you're more eaten up by the label as opposed to the illness itself. I mean, I just happen to be diabetic, right? So I'm type 2 diabetic anyway, so I can talk about that all day long. And the interesting thing is I've got blood pressure and I've got type 2 diabetes. My mental health illness and journey, I would rank 10 times higher than my actual medical illness, if that makes sense. So I hope that may put it into perspective.
Yeah, definitely. So when you said OPO, I just thought you said OPI, and I was like, I thought that's nails, but anyway, that's definitely off topic. Forget about that one. So what, I suppose the other question is, so you're with that mental health journey that you've had. Yes, you were in a dark place, but you're still living with that. So like a lot of diagnosis, so your diabetes and stuff like that, you're managing it. That's the word, really. You're managing it, you're controlling it. So what are some of the kind of ways that you guys control that, and you don't want to be in that dark place again? So what do you do on a day-to-day, or if you're finding you are a bit low, how do you pick yourself up again?
I think there's a few things. I think I'll start, if it's okay, answering the question by the beginning of the journey. So how did I actually start to, and then Viraj touched on it as well, and that's literally how we met. So we met, we're both huge into personal development of all sort of kinds, etc., and shapes and sizes, and therefore a byproduct of that is you're going to meet new people. And I'm so blessed that I met, Sagar and Viraj through that personal journey, and then Havan through Mindful Men's Club, because his wife is one of the founders of Reroute, Sonam. So I think you have to get out and still live a life, right? And what I mean by that is meet people, do your job, do your business, do your hobby, do your passion, like meet people. And then in that journey of when you're now trying to navigate your own life, you're going to find little signs and signposts where the universe will just signpost you. So for example, for me, I ended up stumbling upon spending too much time at the temple. I say too much, but too much because I was using it as a form of escapism, right? But in a positive ambient space. But I was still running away from things at home and from dealing with it. But in that journey, something clicked, and then a good friend of mine handed me this leaflet. And ironically, I've been going to the temple for 20 years. I've never seen these leaflets, and never paid attention to it. And it was the Gita Life Course. And something just hit me, that light bulb moment where 2018, right, I'm going to register. And I wasn't registering to run away at that point. I was registering to see what else is possible and what else is out there. And I did that course, and then spirituality opened the door for me. And then that door opened many, many doors of service, and anybody who knows when they're true to giving for others, and when you're living, when you know life is basically bigger than you, period, because it is, then you know it's about giving, right, more than receiving. So then for me, it was spirituality, and then the footprint of spirituality that it left sort of along the way, it was having that toolbox of meditation. So I meditate very, very deeply and intensely every morning, and I do like my mum's, well, I got up puja, prayer in English, if not Asian audience is listening, sorry, getting Gujarati on everyone. So I do that every morning, and I do something which I've coined myself for many, many books I've read, and I have 7 conversations with the universe, and each conversation is something really, really deep and meaningful. So it's family, it's service, it's abundance, it's people who need healing, and I do that every morning. And then I take some essence from the Keep the Life course, and I do 1 round of japa meditation. So I kind of fuse what works for me, and the essence is that everyone has this in them, Rinal, but it's just picking out what works for you. But if you don't choose to experiment and step outside of your shell and go for these walks, and I think something we should touch on, actually, the topic of mental health this week is nature, which is like Viraj knows, right? Don't get me started on
say that, Manoj, so
I love walking, right? And Viraj knows, like, you know, I walk everywhere as much as I can. So embrace nature, right? I had a timely Facebook reminder of my post today, because I wrote a post 1 year ago today. The synchronicity of this conversation is about smiling. And when I go for walks in nature, the exercise is a byproduct. The benefit is random strangers smiling at you because you're smiling at them.
Yeah. And more so now, right? So nature is so apt right now, because obviously the last year within the lockdown and stuff, that's all a lot of people have been doing, because that's the only thing we can do is go for a walk and, you know, be in that moment. So it's been great. Yeah.
I think the thing I want to add to that, just in terms of that journey, is that everyone has a unique scenario and everyone has a unique solution, and it just starts by just taking full responsibility of, okay, I'm in this situation, so how am I seeing it, like understanding your perception of the situation, because it's one way of looking at things. So it's not that you're trying to flip a negative into a positive, but for me the biggest realization was, okay, how can I take control of it? And the way I could take control of it is just by owning all of it. I'm in this situation because of things that I've done and the way I've reacted to certain things. But now, what is it that I actually want? Because we probably spend most of our lives trying to work around the things that we don't want. But when you flip the conversation to what is it that I actually want, it became very clear to me that as much as I love my job and I was like trying to get back and I was signed off, I was like, I actually want to spend more time at home and spend time with my young family. Now, how could I do that? So that was the first thing I did. I was like, okay, well, I kind of have that already. And I was like, okay, great. So now I was thinking about, okay, I do want to go back to work, but do I want to go back to that? And I was like, well, no. So as long as I can cover the mortgage, I'm good. So I was like, okay, well, what do I need to do? And then it was about paying forward what it was that I was learning in that personal development space, which is where I went down the coaching route. But very similarly to Manoj, I think it's important to look at things in a holistic perspective and not seeing yourself as a problem to fix, but looking at yourself and saying, well, I've created this and I can create the way out of that. But it's really connecting to what is it that I actually want and what do I need along the way to piece that together. When your focus is on your future, it gives you something to aim towards. And then there's the elements of like being grateful for what you have and having some kind of spiritual practice. Doesn't necessarily mean to be that you're religious, but just that check-in with yourself. And that's what spirituality is to me. Is like, am I in alignment with what I want to do and the people that I want to be around? So it's that finding that sweet spot between what you need to do for yourself physically, whether that's exercise, being out in nature, for your mind, and then just connecting to your core. And again, Manoj just touched on a few things as well, but when your life becomes more than just about you, you're more compelled to want to show up. If what we're getting hooked by is more material stuff or external validation. We're always seeking something that's beyond us. So the question is, how can you give it to yourself first? Or what can you start saying no to so you can start saying yes to the things that you want to? And it's just doing that initial exploration and experimentation and then building on top of that.
Right. Thank you, guys. So how do people get in touch? If they want to be part of Mindful Men's Club, how do they get in touch? What do they do?
Absolutely. Well, we've got a Facebook page, facebook.com/Mindful Men's Club. We have a page on Eventbrite, which has all the details for our upcoming events as well. I'm just going to share that in the chat as well.
Excellent.
And of course, we have an Instagram at Mindful Men's Club too. We've got a YouTube channel. So we're very accessible. We probably don't blow our own a bit too much. So that's something that we looked at as well. It's like, guys, how can we just spread the word a little bit more? But yeah, and of course, individually, feel free to reach out to myself or Manoj or Sagar or Havan if you have any questions about it.
And
yeah,
watch this space. Podcast is coming soon.
Exactly.
No way. How amazing is that? I think that's great, actually. Great. That's a fantastic idea. And another way to reach many people.
I think it's important to also acknowledge that none of these were our ideas, Rinal.
Yeah.
So the men and the women were saying, okay, how you're sharing so much. Well, the men, because it's the private chat and Zoom, you're sharing so much on the chat, all these books and meditation techniques and all that, but where can we store that information? And it was Sagar's kind of brainwave saying, oh, okay, well, how about YouTube? And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And we asked the men, so we always validate what we're trying to do, and we're like sense checking, because we have to remind ourselves it's not our space, it's their space.
Yeah.
And we're learning as much from them as we are. And the essence of something we forgot to mention, but the tagline for Mindful Men's Club is connect, grow, and inspire. And what that really means is that we come together, we connect deeply because we're all like-minded. We're going on this journey together as men from all faiths, religions, and creeds. So we started off with South Asians, and now we kind of broaden out to all men from all around the world. It doesn't matter what your background is. And then grow, because we're growing together. And so there's no levels, and we are not teachers, we're not gurus, and you're not teachers and gurus. So we're growing together. And the inspire is not become inspired by us, it's become inspired by your fellow men joining, because everyone has a story to share, and just own your truth. And the great thing is we have a laugh and a joke and a crack up and a banter, and then and 1 minute it's like that, and 1 minute it's deep and emotional. It's really hard to put into words, and women would probably love to be a fly on the wall in these conversations. But do you know what? It's so surreal.
I would say it's, yeah, like I was just thinking about it. How do we describe one of our Zooms? And I can definitely say it's not a pity party or complaining. It's just a straight, open, refreshing conversation about here's what's going on.
It's real. It's real and raw in its deepest sense.
Yeah. Raw.
Yeah.
It's raw. Yeah.
Sounds good. That sounds great. Can I be a part of it?
Well, that's why we do. That's why we do the debriefing. And
I know. Yeah.
And we'd love you to have you live on our debrief. So we have a few women. So if we get requested, and then because then that way we get a balanced viewpoint on a specific topic. I think we've done about 24 topics right now, and all of our topics are listed on Eventbrite. So just like a radio station, if you don't resonate with something, you dial in, you dial out. If you want to come talk to us about money mindset or spirituality, or last one was domestic abuse, the great thing about Eventbrite is you dial in, you dial out. There's no membership. Come and go for 6 months. We don't see you. It's fine, because we know that it's just your space. It's not our space.
Yeah.
That doesn't add any pressure. That's the beautiful thing. You can come on video, off video, chat, sit there in silence. You're still with us, if that makes sense.
That's great. Thank you so much, guys. Should we have a look and see if we've got any questions?
Yes,
Happy to answer any questions. Yeah.
You guys want to have a look as well? I don't know if there's any questions that you guys have had.
Have a look. So I've just shared with how does a person from Soju join an event. So just shared the Eventbrite link with us there. So it's got what are our upcoming events. So we've got the next month covered, and we're going to add some more. So we've got a few good ones on the agenda to add and create. as well as our
And
Facebook.
let us know, post, because we're always looking for new topics. So we've done masculine and female energy, we've done introduction to spirituality, then we got requested to do a follow-up, so we did going deeper into spirituality, we did money mindset because of a lot of job losses and business losses. So our topics are relevant to whatever you guys are going through. Sorry, Raj?
Yeah. No, we did finding your why.
Oh yeah, I love that. One of my favorite, finding your why. Everyone needs to find their why, their purpose in life.
So from Soju's asking us a question: have either of us taken medication to help with mental health? Great question. I took an antidepressant once. I hated it, and for me, that was like a trigger of, okay, I don't want to feel like this if I have to rely on medication. So I was prescribed them for the longest time. I didn't take it. Took one, and I was like, no, this isn't for me.
Can I just touch on that? Actually, it's a really good question. So thank you for that one. But do you feel it wasn't for you because it didn't, like, because
Yeah.
is it that you don't want to be on medication, or was it because
It was how it physically made me feel. Like I felt worse for taking the tablet, and I was like, I can handle my own stuff without that. So I thought, and then and I'm really grateful for that experience, because I was like, well, if the medication is going to make me feel like this, how do I? It was a bit of a question of, well, how do I not get to a place where I don't even need it? Like it was this kind of doctor said, well, if you I'm going to give it to you if you want to use it. And I was adamant not to, because again, there was the whole stigma. I didn't want to be on that. And I thought, well, let me just try it. And I hated it. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, lesson learned.
yeah, and that's a really good thing to point out, I think. Sorry.
And again, I don't want to detract. Yeah, no, I just want to say, I don't want to detract from, if medication's prescribed, and that's obviously a personal choice. So I'm not dissuading anyone from not taking the medication or things like that. People have challenges with sleep and all sorts of stuff as well. So, but just from my experience, it was like, yes, I took it, and I made a conscious choice to not be in a position where I had to depend on it or begin to start using it to kind of take ownership from myself. But again, always have that conversation with your doctor.
Definitely. Yeah.
Manoj, how about yourself?
I was going to say, definitely not giving medical advice because I'm not a practitioner, but I've spoken to about probably 30, 40 people who are actually on tablets, who have opened up to me outside and inside of Mindful Men's Club. I've never been down that route because I've had 2 family members who have actually gone down that route, and it's cascaded into it suffocates you basically, from my understanding. So you reach a point of critical mass where you can't get off it, and if you get off it, you're on a lower low than you need to be in order to get off it again. So it's almost like catch-22, and then you have to have real mental stamina just to even get off the tablets, because they become a form of reliance. So I think definitely seek the advice of your practitioner, but my humble advice would be try everything under the sun before you start the tablets. That should be kind of like, unless it's something that it's chronic. You physically can't, like you're getting chronic pains or things like that. But there's many things that you can act as a breather, and alternative medicines and therapies and exercises and all sorts of tools and techniques to try before you get that. Like, don't just jump at it just because the doctor's prescribed it. Sorry, doctors out there who are listening, but each to their own, and seek medical advice. But there's so much ways out. And I say that because I pop so many tablets with diabetes and blood pressure. So that's the last thing I want, another tablet, right? So maybe it's slightly different for me.
Yeah, and I think on the back of that, I think so just put a message to say, do you think you gave it enough time? But I think we kind of tackled that a little bit, didn't you, Manoj, with that? And like you say, no medical advice whatsoever. So Viraj said, please go to your doctor if you are concerned and you want to. But actually, Sarah, you did make a really good point, because sometimes with any medication, it takes time, right? So if you feel that's the way, fantastic, go for it, speak to your doctor. And it does take time to kind of take that impact or make that impact on your body. Question: lots of people are affected by sleep problems. Any tips on that?
Yeah, I mean,
you go for it. I suffered from it myself, but
I mean, I would just say at a high level, reduce the amount of things that stimulate you before you sleep. So have an evening routine where you turn off your tech first and foremost, because the more time you spend on this, you've got notifications going off. The blue light here is designed to keep you awake and alert. So create some time where you don't have your phone. And then that in itself just creates some time for you to just some reflection, meditation, whether you go for an evening walk, fresh air, like, again, without knowing any specificities about the circumstance, I think sleep is important because that's what allows your body to recover and rejuvenate. So have time away from tech and spend some time nature, getting centered, just healthily coming down from your day so that you're not triggered by anyone or any screen. Journaling is a great way just to kind of unpack and process your day, or just clear or get rid of whatever you need to. And just give yourself that kind of quiet time and peace, and not create sleep as something that's significant or heavy, you know. So yeah, and Manoj, over to you on that as well.
Yeah, no, thank you. So just to literally just to touch on that in no apparent order, and I'm talking from my own experience and having lived it. I'll start with a practical tip. So first thing you do, switch off notifications of every single social media. I promise you, when I did that, it was a godsend. I'm like, wow, I've got so much time on my hands. Like literally, like switch off your WhatsApp notifications. My cousins will probably cringe. I'm on an LFC football group. I switch off. Oh, sorry guys, I've switched it all off. My only skim read. Facebook, I've switched it all off. Literally everything. That's the first thing. Something I picked up on one of the many books I've read. This was from Jay Shetty's book, Think Like a Monk. Tiny little tip, but very small and profound, which is, he's not the first person to say it, and he won't be the last, is when you wake up, same thing what Vera said, don't look at your phone. When I wake up, I say a thank you to the universe, right? So mine is like, you know, thank you for letting me rise to experience the dawn of a new day and breathe in possibilities of endless endings, meaning that I can breathe in whatever I want and the day will end the way I choose it to end. That's just something personal that I do every morning. And when it comes to sleep, I used to get nightmares, and I actually self-diagnosed, right? I saw doctors, they didn't help. I saw a hypnotherapist. There's a joke about that. I ended up giving her a coaching session. I won't name her because she's in Harrow. That's a different story. But the reason that you get sleep is because your subconscious mind is so filled, like if you imagine this bottle is filled, right? The contents are really up here. And then say you're getting 70 to 80 to 90,000 thoughts. Can you imagine that chaos that's going on in our minds at night, and that restlessness and that sleep? And the reason that Viraj is sharing journalism is, I'll just go into slightly more depth in that, is because the chemical reaction that's released from our brains, that when we transfer our thought and that energy is transferred all the way down to our limbs, our mind, you know, our hands, our shoulders, our fingertips, and the instrument, whether it's a pen or a pencil, and then you commit your truth, your words to paper. That's a powerful journey of release. And when you're doing that, guess what you're doing? You're emptying your mind. And the essence of mindfulness is being mindful the moment when your mind is full. So if you empty your mind by journaling, then I guarantee you start to sleep easy, because you're allowing new seeds of positivity and new thoughts to process, and not the self recycling of other people's opinions and thoughts.
Spot on. That's actually, I was just remembering that when I was going through my cancer journey, the thing that actually helped me was to write a blog. And that was me emptying my mind, my thoughts for the day and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Really get through it. So yeah. There's definitely a good tip there. I think that's it, guys. It's been absolutely great to have you both on. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
No,
we were kind of expecting some fireside questions, but I think you let us off lightly, so that's all good.
I think we did, and so I mean, what was that?
You were very gentle with us. We're like, come on, give us something.
I'm always gentle. And if we're on together, maybe I'll be more brutal. Yeah. No, but thank you so much. And like I said right at the beginning, you know, I think you guys would have helped a lot of people. And thank you for everyone that is watching this. Please do share, because I think this is the whole thing. And one of the things that I saw on, I can't remember where I saw it, it must be one of the Mindful Men's Club pages or something that I've read, which is very similar to Asian Patient, is that, you know, it's a voluntary thing that we guys want to do, and we just want to raise awareness. And I think we can say that for all of us, to help one person. If it helps one person, like I said right at the beginning, if you missed it, it's one more than we helped yesterday. And I think that's the message really from all of us. So keep sharing and raising that awareness. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank
Right
you,
on.
and don't be afraid to reach out, like to your
Yes.
audience, anyone, like, you know, what you're doing is amazing, you know, with Asian patients. So if they're, you know, if you're going through anything medically or any condition, don't be afraid to share it. If you're a guy, don't be afraid to reach out to us. We're just as normal as you get. There's nothing really special about us. We're regular guys. So
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot, guys.
thank you. Have a blessed
Thank
evening.
you. Bye,
You
everyone.
too. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.